Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Fire Up. Yes, we're doing it on Thursday night, and why not? I have a great crew, and we have a pretty good, interesting format tonight. One topic, parting shots, and what I consider is a Dick Vitale crew. Awesome, baby. That's what we got tonight. And of course, three of the four of us are from the Metro Detroit area, and of course, the other one, well, he knows Dick Vitale pretty well, anyway, so it doesn't matter. So with that said, let me get right to it. We'll talk about the name of the show. First of all, here on Fire Up, have All-Star Games lost their luster. So this is a very interesting topic I came up with. And a lot of the information that we've ended up getting were from HT Sports Media Watch via the score. So when I saw this was a natural topic to put up there. And that's why I have an incredible opinionated crew that will allow me to deliver that message right to left. George Eichhorn, welcome back, George.
Good to be here, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Smoking Jeremy B when he's not flipping my lid because of great suggestions. Gives his boss a salute. Glad to have you back.
Glad to be here. Always ready to talk some sports.
And we're always ready to let you do it. Let me tell you, in more ways than anybody will ever know. You want more of Smoking Jeremy B? I'll give you lots of ways that we can figure out how to get on with this guy. And the guy who's been loyal with me for a long time, too, Mr. Rick Curdy, a.k.a. Mr. Opinion, and I'm sure that you'll be filled with him tonight.
Absolutely. I'm ready to go.
All right. So basically, the way we're going to format Fire Up is on alternate Thursday nights when we're not doing Inside the Pigskin. This will be the show that fills in here on the primetime time slot. And the Sports Exchange, which normally would have been scheduled on Thursday, the second edition of it will be as needed. So I want to make sure that we keep a lot of things going that way. George Eichhorn did an incredible job blending in with 108 Stitches Baseball Talk on Tuesday night. So as a result, I think with his background and my background dating back a little further, I'm trying to keep continuity and chemistry going amongst everybody so that we can deliver every show the way that we possibly can to the best of our ability. With that said, okay, our primary topic or the topic, and what we're also going to do is format this, folks, okay, where one topic, parting shots, that's it. We tell you to have a good weekend. Boy, keep it simple, stupid. Boy, that's what we've adapted here on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network, South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. All right. So with that said, okay, the viewership numbers for the past year. MLB is at $7.51 million. Pro Bowl, $6.28 million. The NBA, $4.59 million. But here's the thing about the NBA, folks. 27% decline from 2022. The least watched All-Star game ever. Okay, George Eichhorn. Actually, I think you've been to one of these. Was in Michigan, right?
Well, I've been to several, Scott. I've been to NBA All-Star games in Chicago, Cleveland, and Detroit. Back then, I loved it because back then it just had more of a aura around itself. It wasn't as showboaty. What's really happened with the NBA is they've gotten way overboard, way out of control with no defense played at all. These scores in the 180s and 170s and all this crap, we don't need that. And the fans are turning out. Like you said, Scott, they're down, 27% from a year ago? Right. So this one in Salt Lake City basically was a dud. Now, that being said, the All-Star Saturday is a fun thing. I know a lot of fans like to watch that much more than they will the game, the skills competition on Saturday. And that happens a lot. And all four sports are doing it at some level, the skills competition. But the games themselves, they've really shrunk in popularity. And like I said, I think it's too much showboating. It's too much just lack of defense, and nobody's interested. They don't want to watch it. They look for somewhere else to watch.
Yeah, I mean, let's look collectively at the numbers, and I'm glad you emphasized the NBA. MLB, 7.51 million. I don't know if that's considered high or not, is it?
It's down from previous years.
Right, okay.
That's about when two good teams get together. Mm-hmm. That's about their viewership.
Okay. Okay, well, good. And then we know the Pro Bowl, they've tried to make all millions of changes with that. So, and until they finally eliminated the game, would they put it with flag football and skills competitions? And, the only All-Star game I haven't been to is the NBA, but I've been to the NHL All-Star game, MLB All-Star game, and actually made it to a Pro Bowl game here in Miami when it was played here one time. So I've taken out 3 of the 4, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think part of the NBA's problems, too, are attributed to the drama that the league is having and all the play-in tournaments and all the gimmicks and the poor play from one era to the other. I think that's a collective thing that's leading up to the All-Star numbers. I mean, when your league is filled with drama and you're talking more about trades, super teams, load management, and the list goes on and on. And then you have an All-Star game where defense is like a foreign language. I mean, listen, I have to make a confession on this broadcast, okay? And it really pains me to have to do it. But when I was at Lakeland High School in Milford, Michigan at the time, I attempted to take Spanish. Only lasted about 2 or 3 days in there and wound up back at wood shop. So that was the end of that. And then I made an attempt to try German and lasted about a day and a half there and ended up in metal shop. And then another confession about the foreign language situation is when I attended the University of South Florida, when I found out there was a foreign language requirement late in '86, I piled on so many classes in that last year and a half that I just beat it. So I didn't become a sweat hog at Welcome Back Cotter, and I did get out on time. So when it comes to what the foreign language requirement is in the NBA, my point is there's too much drama, too many things going on, and now you have an all-star game. And when you try to understand that you want it to be competitive, and I think one of the reasons the NFL canceled theirs is because they didn't think the players were taking it seriously. But, you know, regardless of the other sports, 4.59 million, 27%. Jeremy, those are staggering, man. I mean, this isn't 5 or 10%, JB. This is 27% down from a year ago.
Well, that's because the game is trash.
Right.
It's not the game of basketball. The game is evolving to trash compared to what it was. We don't have defense. We let people take 6 steps to slam dunk a ball instead of just 1 or 2 steps like it used to be. The pro hop, it isn't even nowhere near as good as it used to be. The skills are diminishing, and they're emphasizing the 3 ball. The 3 ball is hard to defend when you got a good shooter like Steph Curry, and there's about 4 or 5 other guys that hit that above the 35% mark. Everybody else, they're just doing it because, hey, if one goes in, that's 3 points instead of 2. If I get fouled, it's a 4-point play. It's a way to get to the line. That's what they're going for. And there's so much flopping in the NBA, and it isn't called like it used to be. I mean, just 5 years ago, there was more flopping calls than there is now. The football game is a joke. This was probably the worst Pro Bowl I've watched in 20 years.
Really?
I liked the skills competition. I didn't like the way they did it.
Okay. All right, Rick.
Well, I mean, first of all, no offense to Utah, but I was in Utah, not the most glamorous place. And I went to the All-Star game when we had it in Charlotte. It was a lot of fun. I saw like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Shaq, and it's really cool. But lately, it's just like you said, Scott, too much drama. The politics in this, LeBron wearing the political shirt, all wearing politics shirts. Right. Some of them not playing when there's a shooting going on or some political event where they don't feel like playing anymore. That's the problem. They don't feel like playing. Taking these 4-3. It's funny how LeBron's now hurt, but he wasn't hurt when he was chasing Kareem's record, was he? So a lot of them are just very selfish. They're just going for themselves. No defense at all. And you have the players aren't likable. You got LeBron. A lot of people don't like him. He's such a jerk, Then all this stuff about Steph Curry coming out that I mentioned on my rant yesterday. Harden, Ben Simmons, Kyrie, they're all very, very unlikable people. You're looking at them like these guys make millions and millions of dollars and they don't want to play. They're lazy. You don't see their game getting any better. They're just like making all this money and just don't care anymore. There's no rivalries. They're all joining each other, all these power teams. I mean, I love watching Larry Bird and Magic go together, and Magic and Jordan and the Bad Boys and Ewing and Olajuwon, all these great rivalries. Now they're all buddies and friends and all want to join each other so they can get a cheap way of winning a championship. It's just trash.
Yeah, it really is. I should point out, folks, just so when you're out there, that Fire Up can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. So that's the way you can listen to us. Also, please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. Okay. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. So, that's our goal, and we need your support to get to that number. Also, if you want to be a guest, send us topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. We would like it very much to have you on as a guest. We have lots of different shows that you can fit in, and it doesn't have to be this one. It could be No Limits, or it could be Real and the Rare, or any sports or non-related type of show. So if you want to be a guest, southfloridatribune@gmail.com gets it done. Or for some reason, if you're watching on Twitter as well, you can also direct message me at Tribune South as well. So I know we have our audience going into LinkedIn now. We have it on both the Twitter pages as well as the Facebook pages. So there's a lot of different ways to get through us and comment on YouTube. We would love nothing better than to have you on as a guest. All right. I know, Jeremy, you give me your signals there. Like it, share it. Is that what I forgot? Go ahead. You do it better than me anyways. No, but don't mute unless you're muting yourself.
I muted myself. Sorry, on my headphone set. I also bumped the button. But don't forget, if you are subscribed to the channel, go ahead and like the show, because the thumbs up, the clicks, everything counts for YouTube. Then share it with all the other sports fans you have, because nobody knows about us if you're not spreading the word for us.
Right. And you know what? We work really hard to continuously do different things week in and week out. There might be times when I have better ideas that might override, but that's what keeps it interesting, because in this industry, it's an evolving industry where you want to adapt with trends, topics, and so forth. Our main goal is to educate and inform and have some fun. If you can't have fun doing it, then you do what you've got to do. And again, the whole idea is just keep it very loose. And we can come up with, whether the shows are 20 minutes or 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the detail. Doesn't matter. We want you to get the best out of every single experience that you have watching us, because I know there's a lot out there, and we feel that we give it our best shot to make sure that you're very satisfied and want to come back. So, Rick, touching back on what you said, though, George and I had the good fortune of covering the NBA when it was good. Okay, back then, physical bad boys. When a guy like J.J. Redick thinks the game is more physical now than it was, and by the way, you're getting called up with Bob Cousy and Dominique Wilkins, who, by the way, were really good. Okay,
Hall of Famers,
really good. Yeah, Hall of Fame. Okay, to me, this guy is clueless. He really, really is clueless, and we all know that defense isn't. I mean, even Greg Popovich went on record saying Wesley will have 4 or 5 point plays because he can't play any defense anyways. When a league is struggling like the NBA, why do you have to have a play-in tournament from 7 to 11 to keep it interesting? I don't mind that one as much as I do, but now they're thinking about an in-season tournament. They do that. To me, that to me is as worse as a ghost runner in baseball. I don't care what gimmicks.
Yeah,
I agree. I don't care what gimmick that Adam Silver wants to do to play patty cake baker's man with these players, because that's all he's doing anyways.
And we got a perfect example, Scott, here in Detroit, of a team that doesn't want to play defense. They got young stars, they got high draft choices, and whether it's Dwayne Casey or his assistants or their attitude or whatever it is, they don't play defense. They give up way too many points. And that's what the NBA, like you were saying, Jeremy, shoot those 3-pointers. They don't want to get dirty. They don't want to go in the paint. They want everything so pretty and make my 3-pointers, and then they don't even defend. At least
what we need. You know what we need? We need modern day Charles Barkley's, Shaq's, Hakeem Olajuwon, Bill Laimbeer, Buddha. We need those guys back. We need Patrick Ewing, Rick Mahorn. We need guys like that. Somebody like that on every team. Somebody that Grandma, Larry Johnson. Bring him back. Somebody that'll get in your face, puff up their chest, and show you who's boss. That's what we need in the NBA again.
It wouldn't hurt to have a Dennis Rodman up there who likes to climb the boards.
And
and I should point out too, though, that when I had an opportunity to meet Charles Barkley last June up in North Carolina, I think Barkley from here all the way to Thailand. Okay, thank you very much for saying what we all want to say on the Turner Broadcasting System here. about how bad the league is. You're the voice of everybody else because this game is.
He should be the commissioner. I mean, Adam
Yeah,
Silver is such a
I was
doormat,
thinking that too. Because
and
I mean, since
I'm
we
just
don't have
sick of
David
him.
Stern,
He's
I
a
would hope,
doormat. He's weak. And
yeah,
he got LeBron as the face, and he's the biggest crybaby, the biggest I mean, he got booed at the Super Bowl because he was pretending to put on like some imaginary crown, like he's crowned himself the greatest, and he was getting booed because he's such a jerk. And I'm like, he's the face of your league. He's ruined the league. He started all this flopping and, all the playing with my friends
yeah.
and these
Oh,
guys
yeah.
just don't, he pretends he's tough. And I guarantee you, if he played in the 80s or 90s, he would not be as good as he is now.
Oh, you know what?
Oh,
I agree. I mean, I don't get me
I-
wrong.
I don't
I
think
think
so
he's an
either.
exceptional, talented player. I really do. But when you're talking about the physicality back, George, when we were watching it day in and day out, if you dare to get in the paint, I guarantee you one thing: you're going to need Tylenol the next day, knowing that those headaches are. And I would hate to see what a LeBron James Rick Mahorn exchange would be. I almost feel like we're talking a little about basket bros now. I mean, why
Yeah.
not?
Well,
But it's the
yeah,
truth.
the All-Star game you started out with, and it brings up all this other stuff regarding the
That's
league.
true. Yeah, no, you're
You
right.
know,
George.
I do have something interesting. You gave me those numbers, and you know what I heard?
What's that?
That Major League Baseball and NFL, even though they're garbage games, they're still the most watched
Yeah,
because
well, they are.
Major League Baseball is the America pastime.
Right.
Football is America's love time. You can say what you want, but Americans love football more than they love the American pastime. And it shows in the viewer ratings in the regular season and as in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, just not so much the All-Star or All-Pro or Pro Bowl game, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I also have to point out this now that you brought that up, Jeremy, that don't get me wrong, I'll acknowledge the NBA once in a while if something good comes along in the NHL and NASCAR. But where a lot of our inventory guests come from are mainly Major League Baseball and the National Football League, anyways. And why? Because when I went to an NSMA convention out there, I was interacting with my colleagues out there. I said, what do you usually prioritize with your shows? And they said, we really focus on Major League Baseball and the NFL. And of course, I also have college football in my pocket too, which is good as well. So those are my top priorities here here at the Tribune Broadcasting Network. So, you have to go where you feel you got to go. We don't go out there and omit particular sports. Well, let's face it, NASCAR's a niche sport is what it is. I've done my best to promote it, and I'll continue to do so as long as I'm able to do it. And I go out there and continue to be on their media releases, which is okay. Either way. And one sport I really like to do, which nobody probably knows anything about, is IMSA, which is endurance racing, which has become a new passion of mine. But not to get off subject, again, maintaining course here on the All-Star games, Major League Baseball has a great All-Star history. It really does. And like you said, Jeremy, the Pro Bowl, say what you want with it, but the NFL is, all you have to do is look at the TV contracts for MLB and the Pro Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised to see the NBA's take a hit a little bit because of they're going to look at ratings and, like anything else, if they even think of turning games into 72 over 82, don't worry, somebody's going to feel it. I guarantee it'll be the players more than anything. But the All-Star game, like George alluded to, okay, go ahead, George, is the fact that...
I just want to interject, Scott. But one thing, and I know, Rick, you're going to agree with this, the Major League Baseball All-Star game, and one of the main reasons I think that their ratings have gone down too, is the fact that it was special. That was the only time we saw the American League against the National League, except for the World Series.
Yep.
Now we're playing each other all the time.
Interleague players ruined it.
Yeah. And so the fun of that, take yourself back to that 1971 game here in Detroit, 1970, excuse me, when Reggie Jackson hit this rocket off the light tower at Tiger Stadium. You had I don't know how many were, 14, 15 Hall of Famers were in that game. But it was the only time we got a chance to see the National League at Tiger Stadium.
Well, we're talking about interleague play. Right.
Right. So that I'm just saying that has contributed, I think, to the baseball ratings decline for the All-Star game, but it still is the Midsummer Classic. There is no other competition on that day in sports. That's what makes baseball still a very special one to me.
Yeah, but with that said, though, you're right that it may have affected the All Star game. But I'll tell you, if you look at the attendance figures across Major League Baseball with interleague play, they've gone up too because now you've seen a lot of these natural rivalries and it's affecting. So your point, George, is extremely well taken without a doubt. Okay, but the reality is, if you don't tell me when you go to the box office, see the Cubs and the White Sox, and now the Tigers can play the Brewers once a year, and all the new in-state rivals.
Oh
It's
yeah, no, I'll
unbelievable.
give you that. I'll grant you that. Sure, Scott.
But again, uh, going back to really what we talked about, 4.59 million, 27%. It's all attributed to what we've been alluding to all night, Rick. Obviously, between super teams and the drama. I guess all you have to basically to summarize what we've talked about, National Drama League.
Well, one of the head coaches of the NBA came out and said that was one of the worst games he'd ever seen.
Yeah,
This
Michael.
is a coach.
Yeah, Michael Malone.
He's a
Did.
coach in the NBA saying that.
Yeah, well, Mike, I know who you're talking about, Rick. You're talking about Michael Malone's worst
Yeah.
game he's ever seen any coach. Yeah, and he's right. I mean, it's like, what am I doing? Standing there like a bump on the log or the Statue of Liberty play, just watching these guys go out there and do layups all day. I didn't watch it. The only reason I didn't watch it is I was up in Daytona for the 500. So
I haven't watched it in years.
well, I
'cause
haven't
I'm so
watched it
sick
much
of
in years either. But this year I happened to be on the road covering a marquee event, which was a great event. But no, it's atrocious. And I mean, all we talk about NBA trade deadline is it just can't be a break. But the reality is the number. Now, the reason why I didn't factor in hockey numbers though is they weren't listed mainly because of the Canadian market. So I think that those numbers are a little bit incomplete when you have about 5 to 7. I would say 5 to 7 markets out in Canada. So that's why I didn't mention the NHL. I wanted to focus on the 3 American-based sports.
And you know what, Scott, guys, I give the NHL credit too because they changed their format. It's a little bit more exciting with the divisions playing each other for each period, and then you get the two winners of the first 2 periods playing in the third period. At least it's a little bit different and exciting format.
Yeah, but you know what? Though you talk about the NHL though, and one of the reasons I actually have to compliment the NHL in this respect, they've tried different things. They're talking about the Americans versus the world or North American versus the world.
Yeah.
And then they've replaced the All-Star game either with the Olympics or they used to have the Summit Series against the Russians. So, they mean who knows how many All-Star games they really have had through the years. But I got to give the NHL a lot of credit on the All-Star side because they have tried a lot of different things
Yes.
to provide the best players. It may not be the conventional way that the other 3 have done. So compliments to the NHL that we don't really judge you critically on numbers here, largely because of what you've done in the past. Although I will say, however, hello, Ralph Williams, that in this particular situation, okay, when you talk about the NHL, they're on cable for the most part, ESPN and TNT. And I think that the ESPN game gets moved over to ABC when they have to do it. So is it a bona fide television contract? No, but the fact that ESPN and Disney are what they are, there's some interesting moves there. But getting back to the original, I'm glad that's folks, this is exactly why we can take one strong topic like this and go on for a little while. So we put the point of emphasis without having to go anywhere else. And this is exactly why I reformat the show to do such a thing so we can go different ways. But in the reality, if you remember anything else about what we said, because we gave you a lot, NBA 4.59 million, 27% decline for 2022. Rick, Jeremy, George, giving you all the reasons. I don't know. Anything else anybody wants to add before we go to our parting shots?
I think we covered it.
Yeah, I'm satisfied with our discussion.
What about you, Rick?
I hate the slam dunk contest. I wish they would get rid of that. They had some, I don't even know who this guy is, some internet sensation guy that everybody's all excited about.
G League.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like the only reason it's a big deal because he's a white guy that looks like a bank teller, slam dunking, and like it's kind of like that movie White Men Can't Jump. Like, look, he's a white guy, he's slam dunking, he's awesome, and that's the only reason why he's getting all this attention because he's a white guy.
I agree with you. I think it was
I'm
a
sick of
reverse.
hearing about
I
it.
think it was
that's
a
how
reverse.
pathetic it is.
Yeah,
Get some guy from the minor leagues on YouTube to win their slam dunk contest, and he got some idiots on there that are saying that he saved the slam dunk contest. How did he save it? He made it worse.
That's true. Well, Ralph Williams points out that the only one he watches is baseball. So join the club, Ralph. Thanks for commenting. I think that was one of the two that we actually feel the most about. Thanks, Ralph. What about you? Any closing thoughts, Jeremy, on this particular subject?
You know, I don't know what they got to do to improve it, but they have to do something because they're losing their viewership. And it makes the second half of your season, especially for the ones that do it in the middle like that, it loses your fan interest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think the accumulation of the drama, of course, now and the fact that the game has sharply declined. It's an accumulation of everything that we spoke about here that has led to the demise of the NBA. I don't like to comment on certain shows, but one of the reasons I've probably taken a break from First Take is because I feel like the NBA is being shoved down my throat. And therefore, I'd rather have a little bit of quiet time unless I decide to watch other TV. But another reason why I watch some of those shows to get research ideas. But, now what I like to do is just spend time on social media and coming up with new ideas on my own and, to create content so we have a reason to have people to watch it. And I think that that's the whole thing. So, all right, well, now we're going to go to our parting shots. George, lead off. And what we do on the parting shots with this format is we all get to comment on each one. Go ahead, George.
Well, my parting shot is about a former Detroit Tiger, Phil Regan. Phil Regan was 82 years young, and Phil Regan is suing the New York Mets for age discrimination that he did not get the full-time gig as pitching coach for the Mets. I mean, I got to hand it to the old fella. I just, he pitched for Detroit way back in the 60s. Right. And this man loves the game, his passion for the game. And that's one of the reasons why he's going after them and telling the Mets, wait a second here. What was I doing wrong? Was it my performance? No. You went after a younger guy as pitching coach. And I know some people will say it's just a stunt by Phil Regan. I don't think so. If you know anything about this man and his desire and his love for the game, it reminds me a lot of our friend Tommy Lasorda or Ernie Harwell. I mean, the way they have passion and love Vin Scully for the game. So I applaud Phil Regan. I'm not going to take a side on this, whether he's going to win it or deserves to win it or not, the lawsuit. But I give him credit for trying to keep his job and trying to keep his role in the New York Mets organization. That's my parting shot.
All right, Rick, do you have a comment on this one?
I read about it, and it's unfortunately it's getting younger, and they want the young people now, and it seems like the older people are getting kind of pushed aside. So I don't know if it's legit what he has. It's interesting, but you know what? There's a lot of people who feel that way, that they lose their jobs because of younger people. Some of them not even qualified. He's got much more experience than so many other people, but you see so many older people getting pushed aside because they want to see the young, good-looking people, and that's just our society today. So I wish him the best on it.
Yeah, if I understand, I think I read up on it too. He's like 82 and the other guy's 33. I mean, if that isn't a big age difference in my math, really. Yeah. That's as far as I'm going to go with that thing. I wish him well, but that's just a large age. 80s and 30s is. I need a calculator.
5 decades.
Yeah, I need. Yeah. I need Jeremy B or a calculator. All right, Jeremy, give me your take on that.
Age discrimination is done all the time.
Right.
The reason why people want to hire younger is 9 times out of 10, they're cheaper.
Right.
You pay for the experience. It doesn't matter what line of work it's in. When somebody's experienced, they cost a little more.
Right. Fair enough. Okay, Rick, give me your parting shot.
Well, we've kind of touched on him, but I'm going to talk about JJ Redick.
Okay.
Yesterday we talked about the media and all this stuff. This is one of the reasons sometimes I get irritated with it, because I miss the old media. I miss the real good journalists. I think like Ed Werder is like one of the very few that I have respect for. Now all these young people keep coming up, like Shannon Sharp, Skip Bayless. I mean, he's kind of gone that way too, and of course Stephen A. Smith. But JJ Redick is just a complete and utter idiot. I'm sick of this guy. He's a nobody. He was a great college player with Duke. But for him to say that the players today are tougher than, I mean, he's an idiot. I don't know if he's just doing this. I don't even think he believes it. And that's the problem with today. There is no news. They just say anything just to get their name up there. I mean, I could go up here and say that somebody in sports is a pedophile, and people will believe it and share it everywhere, blah, blah. Look what this guy said about blah, 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 and that's what it is. I have no proof it is. I just said it because I wanted to get my name out there. And that's what a lot of people do now. And I miss the days of, like I said, Chris Berman's and the Tom Mead, real journalists, Roy Firestone, real journalists that did the news that were not biased. Some of them are so biased now. It's pathetic. And I'm just kind of sick of it. And people like JJ Redick, they all just need to just go away.
I only have one word for JJ Redick: delusional. And the other one you forgot about, the ESPN, is the one I really had a chance to spend time with, Bob Lee. So
yeah, Bob Lee. I love Bob Lee. And
yeah,
I mean, Roy Firestone's talks, and they were just really good talks. And they were biased. They just loved talking about sports. And now you have people like, they hate the Cowboys. They love the Cowboys. Or
right.
They put so much money on the. That's what I hate about it. All this gambling going on. They put money on teams and they win and all this. I'm sick of it.
Well, I'll tell you, if you ever have a chance to meet Bob Lee, oh my gosh, he's a treasure. All right, JB, go ahead and talk about Rick's parting shot.
There's a lot of those guys in the media that is way one way or way the other, or way too biased towards one team. We hear it all the time. You have the anti-Cowboy analyst and Stephen A. Smith, which he should probably stick to basketball because he knows it better than the rest of them. But otherwise, he's just a loudmouth that loves to rub it in Cowboys fans' faces.
Well, the only thing I'll say about Stephen A. Smith is, you know what he knows about hockey? He even admitted it on there.
Nothing.
No, actually,
Nothing.
he said something about one thing intelligent, I think. Okay, the only thing I know about hockey is a puck is black. That's all he said. Period. We'll leave it at that.
He's ignorant,
Well, I'm just saying.
Oh, he's forgetting the history of the sport. Jerome and Ginla and all those guys,
Well, let me tell you, years ago at the All-Star game, I did a story on Jerome McGinley. So, Rick, don't ruin a good one-liner, okay? Please don't do that, okay?
Yeah.
The only thing that Stephen A. Smith said intelligently about hockey is the puck is black. Because, unless you're colorblind, even if you're colorblind, you can say the puck is black. And we'll leave it at that. Okay, George.
Right.
I can't argue with what Rick said. I mean, I think that he's delusional. That's for sure. We already talked about this earlier, how good the NBA was back in the day when guys were hammering each other. And I'll tell you what, the NBA accepted it. Okay, folks? The referees were on board. Okay, why didn't they kick Bill Laimbeer out of every game or Rick Mahorn out of every game? No, because teams were physical. That was part of the game. Okay, so that's why all this flagrant crap that goes on now, of course you're going to get ejected because they don't want that. Silver doesn't want that. He wants this boring 3-point shootout and no defense kind of game. So what JJ said is ridiculous. We all know that. The game was so much better back in the day and so much more physical. And as far as your reporters go, I couldn't agree with you more. I'd add a couple more guys in there like Dick Schaap. Say what you want about Howard Cosell, Jack Whitaker, Jim Gray. There's a lot of great guys that were, I call essayists, or they took the sport seriously. And Roy Firestone, as you mentioned, and Bob Lay and others. Bob Costas for a long time. Right. I was very impressed with the way he did his sportscast. Jim McKay of ABC. But anyways, yes, JJ, you're wrong.
Well, I'll add John Saunders. He was really good.
There you go. Another good one.
Yeah. All right, Jeremy, give me your parting shot.
I think the NFL should go back historically to what they used to do prior to the Super Bowl even being played. Back when the World Championship team used to have to go against a team of all the other All-Pros in the league. There would be one or two players from each team. They'd put up a 53-man roster, and they would go up against the Super Bowl winner. It would be played 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. It was probably a much more better contest than what we had now, but everybody's so afraid of their investment getting hurt, they don't want a real football game.
Okay. All right, George, you want to comment on that?
Wishful thinking. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Smoking Jeremy, you got a good idea there. Don't forget there was another one too, where the Super Bowl champion played the College All Stars,
I remember
and that
that.
was the first game in Chicago at Old Soldier Field
Right.
every year. And sometimes those College All Stars beat the Super Bowl champions from the previous year, whether they were called NFL champions at the day, probably. But I don't think because of injuries and that, you're not going to get the players to stick around another week or two and play in a game after the Super Bowl. I mean, it's a good idea. I just don't think it's going to ever happen.
Rick?
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. I wish it would, but we live in the world. CTE. You see a lot of these players retire early. A lot of them are making so much money, not only in their salary but in sponsorships. A lot of them just want to go on vacation. They mailed it in. Especially if you're like a last place team, they already. I mean, like the Broncos, I'm sure they already had their vacation plans ready. Like 2 or 3 games out of the season.
Were the Broncos represented? Because I don't remember seeing any on the field.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm just talking about.
I just wanted to say that.
I know, but I mean, you got people that don't care. You got the agents out there. They're going to tell them, no, you're not going to play. You might tear your ACL. You might get this. You might get that. So it's just not going to happen. The agents, are run the league. They tell their players when to play, what to play. You're not going to play, and you got a Pro Bowl that's just utterly horrible. You can't even play in the Pro Bowl. What they need to do with the Pro Bowl, just get rid of it and just tell them you made the Pro Bowl. Here's your plaque. Move on. That's what they should do.
Well, the only thing I'll say about your idea, Jeremy, I give you an A for creativity and thought. As far as realistic, well, incomplete.
I didn't say it was realistic. I just said
know,
I wish they would.
I'm kidding with you. That's all. I really am kidding with you. But you know what? There comes a point where you have to think outside the box, and I'll give you that much, Jeremy. You thought outside the box on this parting shot, and I'm going to leave it there. All right, mine actually does relate to the NBA. And it's actually a pretty good one, if you can imagine that. I'm glad to see Russell Westbrook get a fresh start with the LA Clippers. He's reunited with former teammate Paul George, at least through this method anyways, paired with Kawhi Leonard. And Coach Ty Lue does actually believe in him. The guy's averaged triple doubles. He plays hard every single game. There's only one word that describes what he went through with the Lakers. He's a scapegoat. He'll be in the same arena with the Lakers. Okay, different locker room, other part of the building. You know what? There aren't many NBA players who I really like in this day and age, but I'm going to tell you one that I do like is Russell Westbrook. I don't know. From what I hear, the Lakers have had a losing record since he left the team, so he wasn't the problem. But this guy plays hard. He gives it everything he's got there. And when you are able to go ahead and continuously get triple doubles, that means you have a good all-around game. I've never really rooted for the Clippers for much of anything. I never have. But I might be forced to alter that position just a little bit. And if I have any reason to go ahead and root for the LA Clippers, I would definitely root for Russell Westbrook. I would love to see him get a ring and get the necessary respect that he does. So, Russell, I'm glad you didn't have to leave the arena, okay, so you can play in front of your family, friends, and whatnot. And I hope you have a nice run. And think he only has like a 21 games left and playoffs, but I could see the Clippers, if they like what they see with this guy, giving him another contract, probably not nearly for the money he had before. But at this point, he probably doesn't care anyways. All he wants to do is play basketball, have fun. So I don't view myself as a fan at all, but I'll tell you what, I'm pulling for you, Russell Westbrook. I hope that you make the Lakers regret everything they did with you, and you don't even have to leave the area code and zip code to do it, okay? But that said, George, you can go ahead and follow my lead, and we'll wrap it up very shortly.
I agree with you. The Clippers, I think they might be the longest drought because they used to be the Buffalo Braves, and they moved to San Diego, the San Diego Clippers, and now the LA Clippers. If I'm not mistaken, I think that is one of the longest streaks without a champion.
Well,
LA.
actually, they made the conference finals a couple of years for the first time ever.
Oh, I know, no, but I'm saying NBA champions. They
Well, I
never
know, but
won
I'm
it.
saying to
Yeah.
get to an NBA championship, you have to kind of get to a conference finals.
Oh yeah,
At
yeah,
least
no
that's how
question
I've
about
always
it.
thought it, anyways. But go ahead.
All that I was going to lead up to is just say I'm happy for Russell as well, and I'm a secret admirer of the good job they've done in LA. The Clippers at least have, and it is ironic, like you said, Scott. He's not leaving the building, although he's going to the other locker room, so to speak, because they have their own locker room facilities. Obviously, both teams, the Lakers and the Clippers. I wish him well. I hope he does have a great rest of the way.
Well, Steve Ballmer obviously has done a good job changing the culture, and I know that the Clippers are building an arena next to SoFi Stadium that they should be in a few years. So that franchise has come a long way from the feudal past that it's had. So I do wish Russell Westbrook and the Clippers well. And I'm so happy for this guy. He's actually been to many teams the last so many years, and one usually like his fifth team in like 5 years. Come on, Russell. At least if anything, I hope you do settle down in LA, even if it's for the other franchise. I really do. All right, Rick, any thoughts about Westbrook?
Yeah, I love Russell Westbrook. He's one of those guys that if he played like in the 80s and 90s, he would have done well because he's tough, physical. He wants to get in there. I mean, people think that averaging a triple-double is like so easy, but yet only two people have done it, him and Oscar Robertson. So, I mean, it's just amazing what he does, totally unappreciated. We all know what the mess is in Los Angeles. It's LeBron, because now he's not getting along with Anthony Davis, reportedly. Now he's complaining about Anthony Davis. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone, and yet all those draft picks that they gave away to the Pelicans, the worse the Lakers get, the higher their picks are. So I know the Pelicans are happy. So LeBron is the problem. He blames everybody. It's everybody's fault. He takes no responsibility. He's toxic there. Jenny Buss needs to just if her dad was still alive running, LeBron would have been gone a long time ago. So I wish Russell Westbrook the best. I'm glad he's going to the Clippers. He's from Long Beach, California, so he's playing in his hometown.
Right.
I hope he does really well. I hope he stays with the Clippers. And I would love for them to win a championship and rub it in the face of the Lakers.
Yeah, well, that's why Pat Riley ran him out of Miami, because he knew that LeBron James was going to be toxic. So you really want to go? Goodbye. And the Miami Heat haven't suffered. The Miami Heat actually, I think, is one of the better franchises in the league. They've won 3 championships in their history. They have a good winning culture downtown Miami. So, and Pat Riley's running the show. But, yeah, he ran him out of Miami, and obviously he's, like you said, Rick, I don't have to say it any more clear than you did, what he's with the Lakers. All right, Jeremy, some thoughts about Russell Westbrook.
One of the greatest regular season players to play the game. Averaging a triple-double is amazing. But look at his playoff record. The only thing I can say about Russell Westbrook is I almost would sit him in the playoffs, because I don't know what it is when he's on the court, but he kills playoff chances. Just go look at the stats. It's amazing. I don't get it.
Well, coaching might be attributed to that too. And I like Ty Lue. He won the only championship in Cleveland Cavaliers history. So there's something about Ty Lue and Russell Westbrook where I think that there's a dynamic that we have yet to see. And I think that chapter is about to be written soon enough. So, yeah, I'll give you credit in terms of his playoff history. But for some reason, the narrative could change this year. Sometimes it's all about being in the right situation. And I keeping my fingers crossed that indeed Russell Westbrook is in the right situation. What a great show tonight. My gosh. It isn't quantity, it's quality. And one topic, everybody gets a crack at their parting shot. I don't have to compliment the whole format. We always try to do things just to keep the best stories and get our insights out there. And
and Scott, we had a special appearance by Penny.
Yeah.
Hi, Penny.
Yeah, that's cute. All right. Well, with that said, just want to. Well, I'll get to our things in a moment about one more way to reach us. But all right, with that said, Jeremy, lead off and let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Well, you can find me on the South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune heading as an editorialist and consultant for the company. Also, you can find me at Kneecap Biting with Smoking Jeremy B, my podcasts on YouTube. And you can also find me on the South Florida Tribune channel, where I might be on any one of Scott's shows at any time. All he's got to tell me is what's going on and what we're doing, and I'll show up.
And when. There you go. One thing we have to teach Jeremy, though, is 5 W's and 1 H. You know what they are?
When, what, where, when, and how?
Who, what, when, where, why, and how. You'll be.
Now who?
Now, that's okay. You'll be tested on Monday night when you come back on Fire Up Michigan. So
I don't want to.
yeah, there you go. The way I lose my lid all the time, you'll be quizzed on it. But that's good stuff, Jeremy. Okay, Rick, later I'll get hold of you.
You can find me at my website, www.charlottebats.com. We have a petition on there. Please sign it. We're trying to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, also Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats, and I'm on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. And my email address, if you want to contact me, is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com.
Okay, George, you got a book?
I got a book called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air, which covers everybody from Ty Tyson all the way to the modern day sportscasters, Bernie Smilovitz, Dan Miller, and Brad Galley. And Scott's in the book too. Scott's featured with Muhammad Ali and Jimmy Connors. There's a link to my book. You can purchase it right off the South Florida Tribune. I'm under the Motor City Tribune banner, just like Jeremy. And read my articles also in the Detroit Downtown Monitor. And you can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com or on Instagram. On Facebook. Friend me there, and also find me every Monday night on Fire Up Michigan, plus Sports Exchange and the baseball show. I love being on with you guys.
Yeah, if Brad Galley's in that book, then you must have resent it to the Pritters and got a new updated edition.
No, I didn't mean to say he's on. I'm sorry. That's a correction. He was not in that book.
I'm kidding with you. I've actually met Brad before. He's really a good guy.
He's a hardworking guy.
Yeah, he works hard.
He's really good.
WXYZ, our former station. So with that said, I should point out that Fire Up can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. That's the vocal side. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers and then some, but let's get to the 1,000 first. Okay. Want to be a guest? No problem. Would love to have you. Send topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. Also, if you're watching, you can also direct message me on Twitter at Tribune South. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. And Candy Ebling does an outstanding job with the website. Now she's getting some more airtime in a lot of different ways. So between Twitter, my LinkedIn account, you name it, there's a lot of ways to get a hold of us. We would love to have everybody on here. We appear on Facebook Live. We're all over Twitter, LinkedIn. So, we are able to see in many different ways. And we always welcome new individuals to give us their viewpoints. Because you know what? A new guest to me is something that we really take pride in. And I know Jeremy will add a couple things that he always likes to do about the old like button and all that. Go ahead, give me your 2 cents on what I probably forgot, or we'll learn, or maybe defer to you from now on when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Well, subscribers, don't forget to like the show and then share it with any fan page that you're on, no matter what sport, because you don't know what we're going to talk about, who we're talking about, or where we're going to go with it. Because it could be baseball, it could be football, it could be hockey, NASCAR. You never know. We might even talk about golf.
Okay, the other night, we're talking about curveball. She threw the biggest one on the planet.
Yeah, the one with the PGA and the LPGA getting together for one event. I think it's a great idea. I agree.
Yeah, I would watch it.
I tell you one thing, Candy Ebling's come a long way when she first started here on shows. Now she's got a knack for what she's doing, and we'll divulge some of her broadcasting plans down the road as she goes ahead and has a few. But she's a large contributor, especially on the Sports Exchange and 108 and Inside the Pigskin. She does an unbelievable. I marvel at all the things she can do.
Say what you want.
And I'm very proud of our relationship with Sideline Sports. You want to talk about an incredible partner, man. JB Ellis and the rest of them really great. Also, one last shout out to Ralph Williams. Thank you very much for checking in with us. We appreciate that as well. So, on behalf of George Eichhorn, Smoking Jeremy AB, Rick Curdy, my name is Scott Morgan, Route the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Fire Up. We will see you on our next broadcast. Take care. Have yourself a very safe weekend. And once again, thank you very much for joining us. Good night now.
Good night.
Night, everybody.